Right now on the screen, you're looking at two illustrations. One drawn with real markers on paper, the other created in Procreate using digital brushes. Hard to tell which one's digital, isn't it? Hello everyone, I'm Katya. I'm a graphic designer by training, and for the past several years, I've been focused mainly on creating brushes for Procreate. This artwork was created by my teacher using traditional markers on paper. I studied her course while developing my marker brushes. My own experience with markers was quite basic at that time, but I wanted to go deeper, to understand how markers behave on paper, and to study the marker sketching technique itself. This is my drawing, created entirely in Procreate with my Marker Studio set. The set includes just 7 brushes, but that's enough to recreate a complete marker workflow digitally. People who use my brushes often ask whether I teach how to draw with them. That's why I decided to create this mini course together with Sasha, the teacher who shaped much of my marker approach. In this series, I'll guide you through the brushes and explain when and how to use each one. Sasha will lead the drawing process itself, step by step, as we work on this cozy scene, the wooden door with floral accents. We'll start with the sketch, build up color layers, and finish with small accents and details. Along the way, you'll practice freehand line work instead of tracing, work with markers in a more artistic style, and add charming details that make the drawing feel complete and catch the eye. Sasha doesn't currently teach in English, so she'll be demonstrating the process on screen while I guide you with voiceover. It's a rare opportunity to experience her lessons in this format. All you need for the course is the Marker Studio brush set for Procreate. You'll find the link in the description. Before we move into drawing, let's start by exploring the technique itself and getting familiar with the brushes. In this first lesson, we'll go through each brush, look at its strengths, and see how they work together for fills, textures, and details. Subscribe if you'd like to follow the series from start to finish and work through the full process. The Marker Studio set includes brushes, color palettes inspired by Copic markers, and a paper textured canvas. Unlike some of my other brushes that mimic traditional materials like gouache and watercolor, which look best on the special canvases from their sets, marker brushes can be used on any canvas. However, thanks to the texture layers on the included canvas, they reveal a more pronounced marker texture. One of the brushes, Blender, works best on this canvas, really bringing out its full potential. The first brush is the broad tip, one of the basic brushes featuring a standard chisel-like tip. A quick note about brush size: broad tip grunge, and fine tip brushes are designed so that when you set them to 50%, they match their physical size. For example, if you're working on an A4 canvas, a line made with one of these brushes will have the same thickness as a line drawn with a real marker on an actual A4 sheet. This trick helps mimic the marker effect in digital art, since our eyes are used to seeing marker strokes at certain sizes. You don't have to follow this exactly, but if you're aiming for that marker look, it's better to keep the strokes in proportion to the canvas size. This brush, like the others in the set, leaves strokes with a natural texture typical of classic markers. To add emphasis, just pause for a second at the start, then apply the stroke with some flow, making sure the lines don't get too monotonous. When using a marker, the key is to keep the movement dynamic. If you slow down, the line will start to shake a bit, which can be cool for some effects, but usually the goal is to create fast, dynamic strokes. When you switch to a new color, like a warmer shade, the strokes continue to layer, creating a complex textured surface. This process helps build unique, overlapping layers that add depth and expression to your work. You can pick another color and keep layering it. Notice the amazing effect appearing. It's fragmented, but still forms a complex fill. The word fill refers to the process of filling a certain area or space with color. This can involve using colored strokes or patches to form large, uniform areas. In architectural sketching, this is how surfaces like walls, facades, and doorways are created. If you want the area to look less fragmented and more solid, there's another way to fill it in. Instead of using a bunch of individual strokes, try working with bigger, solid patches. The idea is the same, layering and overlapping to create a unified area. If needed, you can keep adding layers to even out the color and bring in new shades. Another brush in the set is the Tip Grunge, and it's definitely one of the coolest. It's all about capturing that rough, torn edge effect you get with a fast marker stroke. When you press down firmly at the start of a stroke and then lift off with a quick sweeping motion, the tip of a real marker can create these jagged, textured edges. This brush brings that natural, expressive look into the digital world, making your strokes feel more dynamic and organic. You can use the same layering technique with this brush. This brush is super handy for adding some extra texture and personality to your base fills. The main areas tend to stay pretty neutral, but the Tip Grunge is perfect for adding some flair and emotion, especially around the edges of your objects. For example, when working on the edge of a wall or another element, you can add texture with broad, dynamic strokes. You can apply these strokes in both directions, from right to left or left to right, creating interesting overlaps and specific tails at the ends. This approach helps give the surface more character and makes it feel richer. This brush is great for adding decorative elements that bring emotion and personality to your illustration. If you're working in a marker style, experiment with applying strokes at different angles for dynamic layering. It might take a bit of practice, but once you get it, you'll be able to create cool effects that really step up your work. The short strokes are super useful for adding various textures and fine details. Next up is brush number 1. You can't really work with markers without a brush tip like this one. It's perfect for creating smooth, organic shapes, like leaves, tree trunks, or anything that needs a soft, natural form. When you use any of these brushes without lifting your hand off the canvas, you get a solid, seamless fill with no texture seams. But as soon as you lift the brush off the canvas and lay down a new stroke, you get that signature layering effect. And it's so incredibly beautiful, because it captures that awesome dynamic marker vibe. With brush number 1, you get soft fills with smooth, oval-shaped patches. Unlike the sharp, angular strokes you get with the tip, which are better suited for architectural elements like walls, window frames, or shutters, brush number 1 is much more multifunctional. With this brush, you can create both architectural elements like walls and natural objects like foliage. If you use the tip for leaves, it will give them a more stylized look, but with the brush number 1, it will come out much more natural and harmonious. Smooth, flowing lines are an important aspect to keep in mind. Keeping a bit of speed in your hand movements helps maintain that dynamic, expressive feel. Going too slow can cause some unwanted shakiness. This applies whether you're using digital tools or traditional materials. To get those natural, seamless lines, focus on confident strokes. You don't need to go super fast. Steady or slightly quicker movements work perfectly. Just try to avoid sudden pauses or slowing down too much, as it can mess with the flow of your lines. You can also adjust this brush to a smaller size for line work, which is super handy if you don't have any sketching brushes on hand. At a small size and with light pressure, you can create delicate lines that can easily turn into fine hatching when needed. This brush is incredibly versatile. The harder you press, the wider and more dynamic the line becomes, which is key to the marker technique. The lively line is essential, and learning how to control its tension and intensity is a fundamental skill. The expression lively line refers to a line that is dynamic and expressive, with a sense of energy and movement. It contrasts with a static, monotonous line by incorporating variations in pressure, direction, and speed, resulting in a more fluid and engaging stroke. Brush number 2, while still a brush tip, is a bit different from the first one. It doesn't get as wide even at its biggest setting, so it's more about creating narrower lines. It's perfect when you need to add some sharpness and detail, like when you're drawing plants. If you want to add variety to the foliage with small individual leaves, reduce the brush size to get those lovely fine details. Brush number 2 is good for adding those little touches and making things feel more refined. This brush has a droplet shape that naturally brings to mind flowers and leaves. It makes it super simple to draw plant elements. You can merge the strokes into one seamless shape or keep them separate to create a textured, artistic effect. The key is to place the strokes thoughtfully to build a unique composition. It's also great for fine details, like slim window frames or doorways, which end up looking refined and elegant. Dyeing brush is an awesome brush, kinda like brush number 2, but with its own twist. Even though it can get pretty big, you don't always need to max out the size. The brush is called dyeing brush because it imitates the effect of a marker that dyes as it runs out of ink. When a traditional marker dries out, the ink flow becomes uneven and creates a unique texture in the strokes, which is hard to replicate with a fully inked marker. It's super handy in all kinds of work. In marker techniques, mixing clean strokes with these dry edges adds an amazing texture contrast. It pairs perfectly with other brushes. For example, you can pair dry strokes with sharp, clean ones to add more character and layers to your objects. The dry strokes create imperfect lines, making your illustration feel more organic. Next up is the fine tip brush, a classic thin marker designed for monoline work. It doesn't change much with pressure, so you always get predictable results. This brush is perfect for drawing fine details, whether you're outlining objects, sketching delicate surfaces, or working on fine architectural bits. It's a super easy to use tool that gives you crisp, consistent lines every time. Now let's talk about the blender brush. It's perfect for blending patches together seamlessly, creating soft transitions and gradients. If you use the blender on a regular canvas without added texture, it will smoothly mix nearby strokes. You'll end up with a soft, even blend. As I mentioned earlier, the blender brush works best on the canvas from the set. Thanks to its special layering, it doesn't just blur patches, but blends transitions while keeping the signature marker texture. This helps achieve a natural result that closely resembles working with traditional markers. Every brush in the Marker Studio set offers something different, creating diversity in strokes, textures, and shapes. For me, brush number 1 is clear favorite. It's expressive and adaptable, perfect for everything from tiny delicate touches to bold sweeping shapes. Which one's your favorite? Share it in the comments, and if you have any questions, drop them there too. In the next video, we'll create a lively, expressive line drawing that will become the foundation for the final marker illustration. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next lesson. See you in the next video!